nice to know. Obviously, it works also in mixed environments, so it doesn't have to be all Mac, all iOS. It could be that some users use Windows and some users use the Mac, and obviously the Mac is then the one we would manage, or the iOS devices. But yeah, it doesn't have to be an all Apple company. As I said at the beginning, we have the option to work with Apple Business Manager, and we have the option to work without Apple Business Manager. And since, as I understand, if I understand correctly, the DPP partners are not Apple Business Manager enabled in that case. So we want to focus on the part how to get devices enrolled and managed into Jamf without Apple Business Manager. And it's actually pretty straightforward as well. Obviously, you don't have the what we would call zero touch or automated enrollment. We would set up the device, as you can see here in the slide on top, is our Jamf instance. We configure everything in there and we set up the device, we turn it on. And once it's set up, we would scan the barcode or the QR code that you have in Jamf Now. And once that is scanned, the device will enroll into Jamf and can be managed. We do have to mention, obviously, if you go this way, there will be, for the iOS devices, no supervision. So the devices will not be supervised, can still be managed, maybe not to the deepest extent. We could also do a little workaround. We could put in between that we use Apple Configurator 2 to get the devices supervised and then enroll them into Jamf. And with that way, we would have full control and full option. Any questions so far? Okay, nice. We did prepare, what is it, kind of a mix of a video and a keynote, I guess. This would look like when you scan the code, you will get to the open enrollment page where you then put in the access code first so that you're actually allowed to enter this device into Jamf. Then you would choose your group, which we call in this case blueprints. It also has the settings and everything within the blueprint, and you would then enter your name. Click on start enrollment, verify that you actually want to do that, and then it would guide you to the MDM profile. You then have to click that once and accept it, and the device is enrolled into Jamf, and we're done. So it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Obviously, as we said, it's a little bit manual and a couple steps more than if you would have a device automatically in Apple Business Manager, but still showing you here a way that we don't need Apple Business Manager to still manage Apple devices. Any questions? Okay, no problem. If you wonder how Jamf Now looks like, here's the small screenshot. Basically, on the left side, you have all your options, blueprints, which are your groups, the apps that you want to deploy, DPP, DEP, we renamed that a little bit, open enrollment as well in there. And you could also, under teammates, have multiple people manage this instance. And then you would have an overview over your device where you can see what has been installed and what has not been installed. So as you can see, pretty straightforward, not complicated, not a complex design or UI, really easy to do. With Jamf Now, obviously comes support. And here it is obviously for you guys really interesting because normally, as you can see, we do email and chat support. So we do not go on site for the customer if they have question or something doesn't work. And we're not actually taking their phone calls with Jamf Now. That would be one of our other products. And that's perfect for the tech data partners because they could add on this support level. They could say, okay, you can either email or chat with Jamf, and that is free. That's included in the licensing. But if you do want us to help you on site, to install something, to get a device through Apple Configurator supervised, to set up a Mac, or if something doesn't work, to go on site and fix it for you, that would be your service. So there would be additional services that you can offer, and we highly encourage that once you are ready to work with Jamf Now, once you feel ready, And once you're saying I can handle this on my own, that you go and have some extra support contracts with your customers. We will not interfere into that. And for you, obviously, it's always good if you have really complicated questions, you can always come back to Tech Data or to us. So we will look into that and hopefully provide you with the correct answer so that your end user can be helped. Or maybe you go with the correct answer on site and you help them on site. It's really easy to get started with Jamf Now because you can just go to signup.jamfnow.com and create your account. The account itself does not cost anything. So anybody can have a Jamf Now account, can set it up for free, and then start enrolling devices and buy the licenses through you and Tech Data. So there is no complicated trial version. There's nothing that is different in the free account than in the paid account, let's say it that way. So really straightforward, really nice, and easy for everybody to get used to. I do want to put in some little bit technical, really not too deep slides. This one here is basically explaining how we communicate with the devices. You do have on the left side the Jamf Now instance or the MDM server, however you want to call it. And that MDM server communicates with the devices through APNS, Apple Push Notification Service, basically Apple's cloud, Apple's IP range, the 17 range. And it's the same as you get a message that somebody scored or somebody became president or whatever. So the push message you get normally, that will be the same way. And once that happens, the device will actually check in with Jamf directly, and Jamf will deploy all the settings, apps, configuration, a wipe, erase, whatever you need at that time. And as you can see, we obviously do that also for the Mac. So MDM, as you would call it, that's the way how it works. Before I'm going to the next slide, just question anybody on that process. Is it really well known? Anything that you heard or want to know about this process? Cool. What we want to achieve with Jamf Now is actually automation. We want to make it really easy for the end customer, who is the IT team of your company, of the company, and actually make it even easier for the end user who has the phone or the Mac in their hands, and basically automate as much as possible, get an overview about everything so that we know the right apps are installed for the right teams, the right settings. They are not allowed to use the camera, for example, to make sure all of this is in place. We do that automation for IT teams in the way that they buy the devices plus Jamf from you and Tech Data. They buy their apps the right way, probably an Apple Business Manager at one point. Everything gets shipped. We set up a user identity, for example, a managed Apple ID. And then we want to keep the device up to date by pushing out new apps, pushing out updates, pushing out new settings, taking away settings. Maybe suddenly you're allowed to use the camera. So this all can be really easy automated so that you don't have to go to every device and touch it, set every device up, install every app, type in every Apple ID. All of that, we want to get as much done through the MDM. And yeah, basically that's the plan why we created Jamf Pro and Jamf Now and Jamf School, all of these products. Because at one point, if you do it for 4 devices, probably really easy if they're all in the same room, but imagine they're in different cities, in different countries. Imagine they're not 4 devices, but 40 devices. We want to make sure that IT still able to accomplish all of that and keep the company in the long run safe, safe and effective actually, so that the end users still can work and do their job and don't get bothered. Jamf Now itself is built on these 6 pillars. The deployment of the devices to make that easy, get a daily inventory for IT so that we know everything is fine with the device, or the device needs to be erased because it's stolen. We can deploy configuration profiles, which are embedded into our, what we call blueprints. So within the blueprints, we have all these settings. It's a mix of a group and settings. We, as I said, have remote commands. So making sure that we can erase a passcode, we can wipe a device or block a device if something happened to the device or somebody forgot their password. App distribution, I think, is pretty clear. And security, we are helping customers to become GDPR compliant with Jamf by making sure we can wipe a device, we can have the right apps installed on the device. From that on, I'm going to pass over.
Yeah, so now we'll be talking a little bit more about why Jamf actually, what is the value that it adds. I know there's a lot of different solutions out there, so these are kind of the differentiators as we like to see them. So we just start off nice and easy. Basically, our goal at Jamf is to make life of the IT manager, or the person involved in IT, easier. And basically the way that we do it is through simple enrollment, which allows users to set up their own devices and work remotely, start with an out-of-the-box experience basically, and without any involvement from that IT manager that is on location. Through the use of QR codes, IT can actually, enroll these devices, and after that whole process is completed, the IT department or person involved keeps control of those devices, gets a full device inventory report, including everything that might be running amok, and of course fast auditing, just to make sure that you are up to date with what your devices are doing, stay compliant, stay safe with your company. Then the key benefits of Jamf are, as I mentioned briefly before, remote management. It doesn't matter where you are or what time it is. You can manage your devices using Jamf. So you can be at a beach, or you can be at home, or you can be in the office. It doesn't matter. You can always keep control over them. And additionally, you can do this through blocking devices, wiping them, and the locate feature even allows you to check, in this case, where they are. So in case a person makes a mistake, accidentally leaves it behind at a coffee shop, you'll be able to relocate it again and make sure you get that device back. Another very important feature of Jamf is our same-day support. We hear a lot of people in the industry that sometimes their supplier tells them you can't update yet, you can't move on to the newest operating system, you can't buy that newest MacBook that just came out, because we're not ready for it. And with Jamf, you will never hear that. We are always prepared for the newest operating systems. We are always prepared for the new hardware. Just think of the M1 chip. Think of macOS Monterey, which is coming out, I think, next month or the month after. Even though I don't know, our team knows and makes sure that we are completely prepared for it. Now, the value for our customer, of course, how else can Jamf help? As Felix already briefly mentioned as well, with relation to GDPR or ISO compliancy, we allow for data segregation. The block, wiping, and lost mode features within Jamf allow you to keep your device completely safe. Additionally, the security part of Jamf Now allows you to make sure all your users always use password, file vault, and activation lock, and you can set a screensaver for them as well, just to keep your security on top. Applications, of course, there is no need for an Apple ID. This can all be done from the IT parts or the people involved with IT, and they can also just push applications in higher volumes, so you won't have to download every application separately. You don't have to tell all your employees, hey, you need this app, go download it. No, you can just take care of that on the back end. Inventory, as also briefly mentioned before, You get an up-to-date overview of your users and what settings they are using, if they are actually using the correct settings, or if you need to take action. Easy deployment as well with the out-of-the-box experience that we offer. And it is very scalable. So with the use of blueprints, for instance, you set that up as soon as you start using Jamf Now. And afterwards, you can just make sure that one device gets put in that blueprint and it will be ready for use. And you can keep using those blueprints over and over and over. Of course, you can make, changes on the fly, but that is completely up to you, and it's just ease of use. Then what really is our target market for Jamf Now? So it's a streamlined MDM with no IT required. This means it works really well into small to medium businesses. Think of retail, real estate, field services. IT is an extra thing that these companies do. It is not something they have a dedicated person for. I've personally seen it using a lot in building sites. Sometimes you have people that work there that need an iPad, and Jamf Now is just a perfect solution to manage those iPads from a distance. Let it also be clear that this is just a suggestion. It depends entirely on a use case basis if a company needs Jamf Now or a different solution. So sometimes we have small to medium businesses that use a different product at Jamf. Sometimes we have huge businesses that use Jamf Now. It is completely up to them, of course, what they will pick in the end. Then what is the kind of growth you can expect with Jamf? Most important is Jamf Now. So you can see, we see in general that the device growth doubles within 1 year, which is of course just a great result. And it also, make sure that they keep coming back to you as their reseller, just to buy more and more Jamf Now. That's basically what you can expect should you start selling Jamf actively. And of course, if their devices are doubling after a year, then you can also expect their devices to double after a year, which is of course what we would love to have happen.
So there's a question in the chat, so we attack that really quick. So the question is, I got 10 iPads, how do I need to start? It's pretty straightforward actually, depending a little bit on two criteria. So the iPads, if they're brand new and you want them to be supervised, then you probably would take them out of the box and set them all 10 up with a cable and set them through Apple Configurator into Apple Business Manager if the customer has Apple Business Manager. And then Apple Business Manager is connected to Jamf. The devices will start up, go automatically into the right blueprint, and can be used. If the devices are not in Apple Business Manager, the end user does not have Apple Business Manager, or they should already not go into Business Manager for some reason, or even they're already in use, then you could just go to Jamf Now. You set up your blueprints, you click on Open Enrollment, and you get a QR code that you scan with each iPad, and then the iPad will enroll like we did see in one of the slides. So we'll download an MDM profile, you confirm the MDM profile, and the device is managed and will receive all the apps and all the settings. Correct. And then the, I guess, add-on question to that is, what's the difference between DEP and not DEP? DEP is basically Apple Business Manager, and Apple Business Manager supervises a device. And with supervision, we can do more on an iOS device. Apple set the rules that a device is either supervised or not, and a supervised device is basically a business device, a device that is 100% owned by the business, that is provided by the business. And once that checkbox is checked, it's supervised, then we can say we can do everything on the device. If this checkbox is not set, it's not DEP, it's not supervised, then we're not allowed to do everything on the device for privacy reasons. because the device could technically be owned by an end user and still be managed by Jamf. I hope that that makes the difference a little bit clear. Another question?
So just to confirm, so that everybody understands, is that there's a lot of resellers out there that ask us, why should we sell Jamf if we do not have Apple Business Manager? And the short answer to that is Apple Business Manager, although adds some really great features, is not an absolute requirement to managing Apple devices. So even without Apple Business Manager, you can manage Apple devices using Jamf Now. And I just wanted to make that very clear, because we do get a lot of questions from people, even from a company that should know. There's still people asking, do I need Apple Business Manager? Because the name Apple Business Manager is a little bit, it suggests that it manages all of your devices, but Apple Business Manager still requires a MDM solution to be fully useful. So if you do not have Apple Business Manager, no problem, you can still manage Apple devices. And there are actually ways, if you do want to get those customer devices into Apple Business Manager, there's a really great tool coming for that very shortly from Apple themselves, and obviously we can already use Apple Configurator. And if you have any questions about that, if you would like to see that in slightly more detail, please let us know. You can ask about that, and we'll send you any information that you need.
Perfect. Let's continue until we get another question.
So is my data secured if non-supervised?
The device is not supervised. Yes, of course. The data is still secured in that way that we can still, for example, if the device is lost, we can still lock it, we can still wipe it. That's what I would say under the secure data. Obviously, if the device is not supervised, end users, for example, could move, but they always can send an email to themselves, but they could move data into a different app. So that's something that is on a normal thing that could happen. With supervised devices, we can stop the move from app to app. Still, we cannot prevent them to take a photo of it with a different phone, or we cannot prevent them from sending an email to themselves with these data. But in general, we would say if we leave out the end user and we say the end user is with us on this and wants to work with us, it is secure from other thieves or other people who find the phone. Since we can lock the device remotely, we can make sure there's a passcode on the device, and obviously we can wipe the device if needed.
Yeah, so then how do we actually get started with Jamf Now? Of course,
we have one more question.
Oh, one more. Well, I mean, we have time for questions afterwards as well. So
okay,
let me just finish this bit, and then we'll dive back into the questions. So after this, of course, you'll be receiving more info in the shape of PDFs, for instance, about Jamf Now and trainings you could follow in an email from Tech Data. And of course, should you want to have a separate meeting where you can dive a little bit deeper about your specific needs or your potential customer specific needs, we can always talk about that as well. For that, we have some contact information of us right on this slide, and let's just leave this in the background while we answer this next question, and hopefully you guys got a lot more because we have answers.
So so basically the question was asked, can I, which basically means the partner, manage the customer devices? And
in an MSP format.
In a sort of an MSP format.
Yeah, we could say that. So, well, as you saw maybe in the screenshot in the beginning, We call it teammates. It could be your customer who has an access to teammates and then provides you with an access as well. So you can do it for them. Maybe in general, they say, we don't want to do it at all. You have all the rights to it. Hopefully you have the right contracts then in place, obviously. But yes, you can just manage all Jamf Now for your customer with them not touching anything in Jamf.
Probably good to mention that if you have multiple customers that you would want to manage it for, you would need a separate Jamf Now instance for each and every one of them.
Correct.
Any other questions?
And feel free to unmute yourself if you don't want to type. Otherwise, Rohan is checking out the chat. So we have
tired fingers.
Yeah. Then just say something.
Yes. So can they localize the device? So can they find where a device is?
Yeah. So if the device is supervised, then we can do with Jamf Now, we can lock the device and find where it's located. This is a supervised feature because of privacy rules. Otherwise, you could see where people live, for example, if you're not supposed to. The end user will always be recognized and will be told that you localized them, that you check their location. So it's not intended for checking up on them or finding out where they live or if they come to work. It's really intended for a lost device. So therefore, there will be a message on the screen, you have been localized at this time, at this location. But yeah, we can do it that way. Otherwise, if the device is not supervised, we can always do it with an Apple ID via Find My iPhone, Find My iPad, whatever you want to use. So that's also an option that we don't block out. Yeah.
So if somebody wants to have their devices supervised, would they do that within Jamf?
They do it within Apple Configurator. That's a free app for the Mac that you can download out of the Mac App Store. You need a cable, a lightning cable, to connect to your Mac, and then you can walk through the Apple Configurator. There are two options in Apple Configurator: just supervise the device without adding it to Apple Business Manager, or adding it to Apple Business Manager, and while adding it to Business Manager, it will also be supervised. So there are two ways depending on if you have an Apple Business Manager or not.
Cool. So that would be applicable to anybody who is a DPP partner.
Correct, yeah. And important here for right now, this is only for iOS. We have seen during WWDC that Apple performed this on a Mac as well. I assume it will come early November, but obviously with Apple, you never know when something gets released. But apparently during the end of this year, the last couple of months, there will be an iOS app that will make it possible to supervise and enroll Macs into Apple Business Manager.
Yeah, if anybody's familiar with how they pair their Apple Watch with their iPhone, it's that sort of that cloud with all the little dots, and that's what's going to come to the Mac devices as well. So you'll basically have a little bit of a cloud with all those little dots, and you basically just put the Apple Configurator app on your phone, and you basically just take a picture of it, and then that starts the enrollment into the Apple Business Manager. So we'll make it a lot faster than just trying to type everything.
Correct. Yeah. Also, feel free if you have questions towards Christoph from Tech Data. I don't know, on the ordering process or on any support that you can expect from Tech Data or anything that Tech Data will offer together with us. Always feel free to ask these questions as well, or do that separately with Christoph. Yeah, but yeah, anything else that comes up to your mind about MDM?
Yeah, so the question, and I kind of touched upon this as well, is Apple Business Manager an MDM? And the answer to that is no. Apple Business Manager is not an MDM. Basically, how you should see it is that Apple used to have two programs. One was called the Device Enrollment Program, or DEP, and the other one was called the Volume Purchasing Program. And those two have basically been combined in what is now Apple Business Manager. They have added some additional features to it as well, but it's not an MDM solution. So if you have Apple Business Manager, you still cannot manage devices. You need an MDM, so you'll still need Jamf Now to manage those devices.
You could say it's a database.
Yeah. Apple Business Manager is basically just a database where you'll see all of your devices, but you'll still need something to manage those devices. Any more questions?
Thoughts, complaints, ideas? Open to anything.
Let's see. When a partner gives me a customer DEP ID, how do I use it with Jamf?
So the DEP number itself will be in Apple Business Manager, the organizational ID. And then what you do in Jamf, you download a token. We call it a public key. And that public key gets uploaded to Apple Business Manager. And from there you get Apple Business Manager token. The token goes to Jamf and then they're combined. So basically, if then devices go into Business Manager, they will obviously be right away transferred to Jamf, and that's the token exchange. So we don't do anything with the organizational ID or the DEP ID. We just have a combination to the Business Manager, and all the information, all the IDs and all the payments are in Apple Business Manager.
No more further questions? Maybe everybody can unmute himself. I would just like to hear your opinion about the service. I think it's a great solution because we're in the DPP program, and at this point, the only thing we always said was like, yeah, we have Apple Configurator 2. You can supervise your devices if you go to Apple Configurator 2, but now with Jamf, it's a whole other story, I think. If you have several devices, you can manage them for your customer or with your customer. I think it's a great service. This is also the reason why we have this webinar. So I'd like to hear from you what you think of it. Is it an opportunity? Do you have any questions about it? Do you know customers who are really eager to have some more managed devices or not? Must test. Thank you, Olivier. Anybody else who sees a solution within his branch or in his work? It's only if you have only like 5 devices and they're all, you could send them to the customer with a drop shipment of the data, for example. With Corona, the whole situation, we do drop shipments to the end customer. So, for example, if the employees work at home, we can do 5 addresses, and afterwards it's like Felix said, no matter where they live, you just have to send them a QR code or an URL, and they do the rest of the work. So I think it's a challenge to give this to your customer, but I think it's really good to sell Jamf next to an Apple product, especially because Jamf is so integrated into the iOS system.
I think it's a good opportunity. What we see from our data, obviously, is that, and we talk with Apple about that, obviously, as well. Once a device is managed, the company turns to the point to buy easily more devices, and because it's so easy, it's safe and easy. So they tend to buy more Apple devices, which then, again, more hardware sale, more license sale, enabling their end users.
So I think if there's no other questions, For the people who were late, we are sending the recorded webinar to you, so you can review everything on your own. If you have any questions, Rowan, you will share the presentation as well, I think, so I can share it at my point. Okay, so I will send to everybody who is in this webinar. So I thank you, Rowan, Felix, and did catch the other guy's names. Sorry, but thank Spike. Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Okay. No, yeah, thank you for the time. Thank you for questions and a sort of discussion. Really looking forward to obviously more questions, and I hope this was helpful for everybody.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I think all of you